Natan Sharansky is one of the most famous refuseniks, one of those Jews who in the 1970s and the 1980s wanted to make Aliyah, angered the Soviets, were denied exit visas out of the Soviet Union, and only after many years were able to leave. Natan Sharansky ended up in prison for 9 long, arduous, terrible years. And yet in the end, he never looked back with any regret over his decision. I was lucky, he said. In the Soviet Union, I grew up deprived of freedom and identity. He was deprived of his identity with his people and with his land and with his state of Israel. He was deprived of freedom, that fundamental human right to be able to speak and behave as you wish. When he left the Soviet Union, he was able to achieve both his identity and his freedom. Freedom is at the core of one of the Torah's lessons at the beginning of this week's parasha. Parashat Mishpatim tells us about Jews enslaving other Jews. Bnei Israel were allowed to have slaves, but even though they were allowed to have slaves, those slaves had to be treated in a certain way. They weren't allowed to be overworked. They had to be given the same types of amenities as the master would have. They would have to be freed after 6 years. They couldn't be mistreated. All of this was part of the Torah's thought pattern of saying, while we understand that they might and could be slaves, ultimately, we are only slaves to the Almighty. Ki avadaihem velo avadim la'avadim. The expression means they, Bnei Israel, are my slaves, the Almighty's slaves, but never will they be slaves to others, to other slaves. Freedom is what makes us able to do our mitzvot in the way that we do them. It's what enables us to be human beings capable of the highest and most noble achievements. And freedom is what the Torah really wants for everybody. Freedom to be able to be the best Jews and the best people that we want to be. Shabbat Shalom.